Hey, everybody. If you have been around the recruiting process at all, you've heard me talk or other recruiting coordinators talk, you've probably heard someone say, focus on your process. Everyone's process, everyone's recruiting journey is a little bit different. And so focus on your own process. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Okay. And we say this, I say it at least once a year, if not 24 times a year. But that's hard to do for athletes in our current climate and culture and situation. That's hard for athletes to do, to put the blinders on and not focus on what everyone else is doing. Okay. So I was watching a video on social media, which I know it's crazy. I actually learned something from social media. It almost never happens. But I learned about this phrase that I was not aware of until, again, I learned it, called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. So the situation is, this was what the video was about. The situation is a teacher gives a test, basically, on a piece of paper to the entire class. And the test is, there's a word on the piece of paper, and then they have to rearrange those letters and make a new word. Okay. And there were just 3 words on there that they had to rearrange to make a new word. And so what she does is, she told the class, I just want you to do the first one. When you've done with the first one, raise your hand. And so you see some people raising their hand, other people's not raising their hand. Right. Everyone do number 2. When you're done, raise your hand and we'll continue. But when you're done, make sure you raise your hand nice and big so I can know that you're done. They get to number 3, right? So repeat it. There's only 3 on there. We come to find out at the end, after she's given this kind of test to everybody, is that one half of the room was given one test and the other half of the room was given a test that's totally different, okay? Except for one question. The only question in this word rearranging test was the last one, was number 3, okay? The first 2 words were different from one half of the room to the other. One half of the side of the room that was raising their hand fairly quickly as they were taking this test for each of the first, really all 3, their words were easy. First one was easy. Second one was a little bit harder, but still fairly simple. Third one was a little bit harder, but still, again, not impossible. The other half of the room, the first 2 words we find out at the end after we've done this, the first 2 words that they had to rearrange and make a new word, impossible, apparently, okay? Couldn't do it. The third word was the same, but the first 2 were wrong. And as the teacher is explaining this to everyone, she's asking the people on the side of the room that took the hard or impossible test, how did it make you feel when you were struggling with the first word and other people over here in the class were raising their hands quickly? Goes through frustrated, made me feel dumb, made me feel stupid, made me feel angry, made me feel anxious, made me feel behind. All these different phrases because they're all these different feelings and emotions because they're looking at these words and going, I can't figure this out. But yet everyone else thinks it's really easy, or these people over here are thinking it's really easy. What's wrong with me? And this, we learn in the video, is called learned helplessness. And so what happened was you had 2 sides of the room, the side over here that got the mostly easy questions with the third being the same. This side over here got the first 2 with the third being the same. This side over here that had the kind of the impossible test, they couldn't do the third word. They couldn't figure it out. And so and this group over here could. So that's the situation of learned helplessness. Because I can't do the first one, because I then can't do the second one, then I've already decided in my head that I can't do the third one, even though the third one is completely possible and within my realm of thinking. Okay. So learned helplessness, right? And as soon as I watched this video and as soon as I got to the end and the teacher was explaining all of it, I said, this is college recruiting. This is exactly what's happening right now with all of these, with athletes, and where the frustration comes from and where the anxiety comes from and where the I'm not good enough comes from. Because athletes are sitting here watching commitment, Instagram posts, social media posts. I got a no from another school. I got a we're done. with your class from another school. All of these different things, I'm seeing other people successful. I keep getting told no. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I want to quit and be done. I feel like I'm behind. I'm not connecting. It's learned helplessness. I'm seeing all these other people be successful in a situation that I feel like is the same, but I'm not being successful in what I'm doing. For me, this comes back to everyone's recruiting process is different. Everyone's recruiting journey is different, and you've got to focus on yours. Not everyone's situation is a little bit different, right? Some athletes are in a situation where their process is going to go a little bit faster. They have some advantages, whatever the situation is, right? And I could go through a whole entire list of what those things would be. They are in a better or unique or different situation than me. And so for my process, it's a little bit harder. And sometimes it's hard to sift through the fact that they're given a different test in some ways than you are. And it's hard to see that and hard to know that until the end, right? You don't know that the other side has a totally different test until the end. Meanwhile, you feel all these like negative emotions because you're getting ghosted and schools are saying no to you and other kids are still committing. And it hit me that this is what is happening with a lot of athletes right now in recruiting because of social media, because I'm constantly seeing everyone else be successful and it's making me frustrated in my own process. Okay. But if you are there and you're like, all this stuff is happening, everyone's being successful and not me, remember that you can reach your goal, right? Not every question on the test is impossible. The third question, again, was a possible question for them to figure out. But by the time they got there, they were already frustrated and already negative self-talk and things like that. Then they couldn't figure it out, even though they could, right? Try as best as you can to put yourself in a position to where you are, I can do this. This is something I want to do. This is a goal that I would like to accomplish, and I can accomplish it. It is going to be hard. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard. And at some point, you're going to get to that point where I can answer this question and I can have a conversation with this coach, and I'm going to go on this visit and I'm going to have an awesome visit with this coach for this awesome program. I'm going to connect really well with the team and everything is going to be what I've wanted it to be, right? For a lot of athletes, there are struggle points until they get there. But if you stick this out, you can get there, right? So try as best you can to put blinders on to what everyone else is doing and focus on your process, because your process is what's going to get you recruited, not everyone else's process. Thank you guys for listening. Hit that subscribe button, please, and I will see you next time.